Hello and welcome to the Play 2 Video Games Club. I'm your host Paul James, and this month I'm joined by all three of us are here. It's great. Jay Parnas, Damo Camilleri.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it was a good little intro.
Perfect.
We're rusty. It's been like 3 or 4 months.
You might be rusty.
All three of us have been on this couch.
I'm fucking always on, dude.
Don't even want. Alright, so we're going to be talking about Dead Space 2 this month.
Yes.
The decision was mine, and it was inspired a little bit by the whole Visceral Games situation, the fact they were closed. I wanted to kind of find a game that was important to that studio. Dead Space 2 was one of those.
Is this the first sequel that we've done?
No, it wouldn't be.
Zoe.
Yeah,
you know what? You are right.
Yeah.
You're right.
But there might have been spiritual sequels and other bits and pieces we've probably done along the way.
Yeah, no, but like one where
Damo's got some ideas for what he wants to do with
one where there is a story that is like continuous.
Stretches over.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Because
Mega Man X does not stretch over.
It does if you get to like 4, but like nah, you could. It starts. It's like, yo, I'm a dude on a highway. Let's go.
Alright, so Dead Space 2, it was a game that struck me, struck a chord with me, and I still can't quite work out how, because I'm a guy we spoke about when we talked about Resident Evil 7 in some patched episodes earlier in the year. I'm hopeless when it comes to horror games, but Dead Space 2 hit all the right marks. You guys have now both played it, and Jay, you played the first one.
I did.
Going into the second one as well.
I played them back to back, yeah. I actually bought them on the Xbox backwards compatible program because they were like $9 at one point. They still might be, I don't know. Might have been a sale, might not have been. But I bought them super cheap, like months and months ago, with the intention to play them, and then didn't. And then this came along, and I'm like, good excuse.
Opportunity, yeah. Here we go. So atmosphere is the thing that when people talk about, not so much Dead Space 3, but certainly when it comes to 1 and 2, they talk about the whole atmosphere or the attempted atmosphere that they're trying to create there. What do you think of what they were trying to do?
Do you want to have a crack at this?
Obviously, this is a game set in space. There's zombie-like creatures.
Spoilers, there's shit that's dead and it's in space.
Yeah.
I thought it was just all the empty room between things.
Yeah.
Like that's, yeah.
Whoa, I get it. Hang on, let's have some dead air.
Let's not.
Oh,
so, anyway, that atmosphere. What they were going for and what you thought about it.
They did it well, that's for sure.
I personally felt that they did a better job of it in the first game. And this is kind of a running trend with the way that the game format was. It was way more linear, or it felt way more linear than the first one because there was less of an open area aspect to it. Like it was more corridors of like, yo, run here, and this is the only real place you can run other than this one little side room on the way. Whereas Dead Space 1, it was kind of like, you kind of had access to the majority of one of the, I guess, sections of the ship at a time. And so I more felt like it was like this creepy environment rather than this like forced path, if that makes sense.
Yep.
They definitely did the horror thing well.
Yeah, so they really rely heavily on the audio to kind of get their scares. You were telling a little story before about your experience with the game. It scared you a few times, and then
the first 2 jumps got me because the first game didn't really do it that way. They didn't just have like super loud noises and jumps at you. I was like, fuck. Turned the volume down like 3 pips on my TV and was never got by one again. So it was definitely an audio thing, very loud, and it was just the transition from like very quiet, very subtle to
oh my god,
just fucking
right in your face.
I guess that's probably the thing that they do well, and this is not a dig. Like, hear me out. They do nothingness really well, which I guess with space is kind of what you want. To kind of almost go back to your pun in a sense, but it's when there's. I guess the game is probably most effective at that when there's nothing really going on. Like not even when there's like a kind of creepy recording going on that you're walking past, like an audio or video recording. Even just when there's literally nothing, and you're just kind of walking through a hall and you're like, am I about to get fucked? Am I not? That's, I think, when the game really shined as a horror game.
Yeah, I think the balance of when they did get you versus when they didn't. Like sometimes you expect something and nothing happened.
Yeah, or like an air vent.
Cool. Then you just as you take that breath, boom, there's the next thing. Like you weren't quite expecting.
Like an air vent will bust through, which is usually the indicator that there will be someone coming to like push your shit in, and sometimes it will just like burst open and nothing.
Yeah.
It'll just be like, yo, we got you. Check the next room though. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
That sort of. They did that stuff really well. I think they did. I argue that they did world building better in 2 than they did in 1.
Yep.
Like it was easily more like the characters were more engaging, and it had nothing to do with the main character being voiced or not. That I could take or leave, because I think they played that well in the first one. But yeah, it just, you know, the bad guys were like more typical bad guys rather than crazy religious dude.
Which is always nice.
Yeah, I mean, look. Yeah, and their environments were really good too. They did that really well, I thought. What do you think, man?
I enjoyed the atmosphere in this. I think they set it up really well. It kind of had a Bioshock Rapture feel to me.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, like this weird, creepy thing, shadows, big bright things popping out everywhere though. Like,
coming at you in groups.
Lots of lovely lights and shadow effects going on. So kind of had me really tense, and I just didn't enjoy this, people. I did not enjoy
Did you not?
being on edge. I don't know.
Yeah, but only because of what it created in him, not necessarily.
It wasn't
it's a good or bad
it's
game.
a great outlook.
The fear that it's put in. Yeah.
Don't think that I'm going to
did
give
its
this a
job.
bad review. It's going to be a great review, but it just, I was not a fan.
He never wants to play a Dead Space game again in the nicest way possible.
I actually would recommend you play the first one.
Yeah.
I think
Just don't play the third one.
I think you'll really like it.
Recommendations coming all over the place.
Yeah.
No, the atmosphere was really cool. You know, I've been playing a lot of Fallout, and so then come to this, and it's good to have that kind of that background shit going on, and you're just kind of like, and you don't feel immortal, which is another cool thing. Like, you know, there's a lot of games where you start getting to a point, you're like, haha, I'm a god. Those things are just too big. And, you know, there's no point in the game where you're like, don't worry, I've got this. Like, you know, you're not given the BFG and you're just wiping out entire things.
No, you've still got to be smart with the way you
Did you use the contact beam?
The contact beam.
With the weapon, the contact. If you use the contact beam, you'd be like, we had a BFG. That thing is a motherfucker. It is great.
One of the things that struck me in terms of what you said was like when you made your Bioshock reference, because one of the big things that when people talk about Bioshock, they talk about kind of the environmental storytelling, sort of like just moving through the world, regardless of whether they're trying to scare the crap out of you or whatever. Like you can see...
Which Bioshock also did try and do from time to time.
It did, but like you look at the walls and there's blood scrawled all over where someone's kind of used their own blood or whatever to try and write some message of help or something a little bit more meaningful than that.
Or sometimes less meaningful than that.
Or sometimes less meaningful than that. But like there's, you kind of look around and it tells you more about what happened without having to necessarily go collect or find collectibles that then eventually when you combine them all tell you the big story of what's going on. No, it's right there for you to delve into if you wish to, and sometimes you don't even need to wish to, it's there. The game kind of directs your eye towards those things.
Actually, you know what? One of the things that really reminded me of Bioshock, and you might agree or disagree, I don't know yet, I'll find out. But the like kindergarten thing that you walk through, you know, with the or like the did that remind you at all? Like that was one of the things that really that, and
there
also
was a lot of like kindergarten-y, schooly kind of things. I mean, the population of kids in that place must have been pretty big.
I mean,
I had the kind of the feeling that, you know, you're out in space. What else are you going to do?
It's true.
Like,
and it's a mining colony. Like, if you've ever been to WA, like, it's
all they're doing.
It's either fucking or ice or both. Like, it is what it is. And I mean, you saw some of the people in that. You saw some of the people in that game. I mean, it was probably
they're a bit rough.
There's probably some meth going around.
Yeah,
it is what it is. Real talk. And also that there was a. Speaking of that, like the slightly older kids, you know, like the weird clawy ones that would jump at you, not like the ones that would explode on impact. There was an area that was kind of like kids stores. Do you remember? It's like fairly early in the game, and you come back through it later. Does that ring a bell at all? Because there was music that played there that I'm like, did they rip that from Bioshock? Like it kept reminding me of the the shop. You know, the little shop vending machines in Bioshock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was the thing. So yeah, I literally thought to myself, huh,
I don't know.
that sounds exactly like Bioshock.
It was... I could just...
Yeah. It's rough. The game's rough.
It is.
Again, probably playing the first one directly before it, I was prepared for like the aiming system and like all of the mechanics side of it. So
so while we're on the mechanics, there one of the other major hooks as well is kind of that environmental storytelling, and the sound is the way in which you need to take down a necromorph. You can't just, like in most games, pop someone in the head and that's it. It's more. There's more depth than that. You have to use a bit of strategy, and that might require you to sever the limbs.
And not always conventional weaponry.
Yeah,
like weaponry that's generally used for engineering.
Yeah, it's just not you don't just have some heavy gun and just roaming around doing whatever you want. It's
Did you use the Ripper?
Makeshift equipment. The Ripper.
Yeah. It's the saw blade.
Oh yeah, of course.
You love a good saw blade in any game. I mean, obviously this kind of extends to Dead Space 1, 2 and 3, but what do you both think of kind of that whole approach to combat, which is you need to sever the limbs in order to incapacitate them versus necessarily kill them?
It's finally good to see in a survival horror something a bit different. Like, I mean, it's cool because like Resident Evil has established itself as a zombie game and has done it really well on how to kill those zombies and things like that. Like, they're their state. That's their staple.
Of bullets.
So if you're going to do something, in survival horror, and you're going to have something zombie-like or something like that, you kind of just... We've seen the old pop in the head, double tap.
The double tap, yeah.
Cardio being your number one rule. But you need something different, and it's fantastic to see that, they went, hey, remember that movie Return of the Living Dead? Like, even when they put a ice pick in the freaking zombie's head and it still came at them, take off its limbs. It's like, there you go. Like, it's awesome. Like, it's fresh. It's like, it's fresh, but it's also nostalgic for people that, obsess about zombie movies and things like that. They go, oh, I know what I'm paying to fight now. This is awesome. Like, whether they are zombies or not, or they're just infected people, I don't know, but,
You mean the necromorphs?
Yeah.
Little column A, little column B.
Alien zombie DNA killer clowns from outer
technically,
space.
I think the story describes it as just human DNA that's kind of been fucked with and rearranged.
Yeah.
Because there's a
Don't
voice.
fly too close to the sun, kids.
Yeah, Icarus. It's shit time.
I think it's a good way of doing things. It makes you feel, it removes that, oh my god, kind of feel. Because like eventually you all get to a certain stage in points in games where you're like I know where I can, I know how pretty much thing where this, it's like, you have to use, is it a status bomb or whatever?
Well, this you can still have that same ability to go pop, 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 know exactly what you need to do. But it requires, there's more to it than that. Like, all right, I need to take this leg out here, I need to do this here.
It's like
and then maybe they'll throw something slightly different at you, where it's got this giant thing sprouting from where its head would be, and that's going to just launch over and skewer you if need be. Like they kind of every now and then throw a curveball at you. Yeah.
Those things.
And
kill them quickly.
I'm worried that I might also merge little Dead Space 3 things in there, so sorry if I do. Losing track of which enemy came from which game and all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
But,
I'd like to speak about enemies at one point.
Go for it. Do it now.
No, I want to talk about combat though. Because I played it very differently to how you probably should play it. I almost never use stasis. I basically saved my stasis pack regens for money. I put one power node into my stasis the whole game, and after playing through the first one, I played it how I would play Resident Evil, where I fucking pick up everything. I make sure I've got everything, and I will walk 10 minutes backwards to get to a shop so I can dump it all in my bank. Like I played it very meticulously, but the second one, while I still did that, I was really light on with weapons. I only used 3 weapons the whole game. I didn't even have a full loadout. And I started with using the javelin gun, which wasn't to my liking.
Yeah.
But then I went with the force gun, which was this big kind of, like, almost a telekinetic push, basically just knocks people over and sometimes blows limbs off. But its alt fire is like this piercing. I don't know. Did you use the force gun?
No.
It's literally like a force spike that just like it will shoot through a whole bunch of enemies in a row.
It just
and just decimate them.
All, yeah.
Yeah, but that was actually the other thing that I really liked about 2, because you've got your telekinesis or your TK, basically. You can pick up items and you move shit around and stuff. You can kind of throw it and enemies will just be like, oh, you bumped me with a giant crate. Whatever, I'm going to stab your face now. In the second one, you can actually scale up the damage. Like you got full range, because you had to level up the range in the first game. You got full range, and especially if you get like pipes and spikes and shit, you can actually tear off their arms. They're like spike arms, and throw it back at them. And you can pin them to fucking walls. It's the best. It's like one of the best, like... It's just it's making good. Absolutely. Yeah. They made good on that telekinesis so well. I was so chuffed with how they did that. It was really, really great.
Yeah. That was handy.
Yeah, and that was why I didn't even...
Off a limb.
And then just take it.
Or just...
Stop hitting yourself.
Yeah. Or like, get the plasma cutter and just blow off an arm, catch it in midair, pull off the spike and throw it back at them. It's sick. You feel like a space engineer ninja. It's sick.
And it was like me, I had a lot of fun with, like, when I wiped everything else out and there's one little goon left and doing all that stuff and just being a total asshole. Like, just smacking it around and taunting it and skewering
the melee combat was a little better. Like the punch one, which is on right trigger. In the first game, you'd swing like this, but in the second game, they made it swing down so you can still hit enemies on the ground.
Yeah.
But hammering the stomp button in that game is great, because he'll randomly just be like, fuck up.
Smash hitting.
Yeah, and you can
when you take out those legs and all of a sudden they're crawling along the ground to get to you, you can just walk over and stop them.
Give them the romper stomper treatment.
Very satisfying feeling.
Yeah, like put their chin up to a curb type shit. It's great. And the contact beam was just next level. Because I sold off the jet. Like, another really good thing that they put into this game was respecking. Any game that has investing points. I don't know. Did you use the respec at all?
Yeah, from time to time, you're rushing through, or you're just like you think, oh, I'm gonna give this a shot.
Yeah, and you can just pull them all out, sell the fucking thing. The best.
Yeah,
the best. Because in the first game you couldn't. Any points you put in were committed, and you would get part of it on resale value.
It's just not something that you want to see anymore.
No, it's not. I mean, I guess you can buy points, but you literally sell them back for half value, so it's such diminishing returns.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to pull out those points was just. And then,
if you've watched any Pastel Games Club stuff, you know Jay, when he's talking about Borderlands and stuff, he loves a good respec.
Absolutely. I like leveling up shit the way I want to level it, but not feeling like I'm being punished if I've made a decision to test something out. Like, if you're going to give me a huge assortment of mechanics, fucking let me try them all.
Yeah,
right?
Especially if you're going to cap out too. Like, if you're going to cap out the amount of skill points you've got, and you can't branch on the whole tree.
Yeah,
like,
let me try
definitely
this
allow
shit. Fine, I like that. But yeah, the ability to kind of change it up.
Well,
courses sort of thing's important.
Yeah, I mean, look,
that's where Borderlands and Dead Space do it quite well.
If you had a 6-hour game and
and an abundance of skill points,
the tree was there, and it's like, well, you got 6 hours. Like, you could replay the crap out of this game. It had replayability. This is kind of a topic, but it was good. It was good to have that weapon respecing.
But I would almost argue a 6-hour game probably doesn't need a skill tree, because
true. Well, I'm just
I know what you absolutely
unless you're popping them left, right, and centre.
Yeah, like at that point, it's like, well, do you have long enough to feel like you've actually accomplished something by building that out? Like, I feel like the longer games that do have that, like, the idea is to have accomplishment, but also a play as you want type feel.
Yeah.
And respecking, like, having me not feel like I should be scared to put into points because I'm worried I'm committed, just by choosing something that may or may not suit my playstyle, I think is really, like, when you can respec, it's the best.
Yeah.
And then when I got the contact beam, the special upgrade on that is, you put it into the ground as your alt fire, and you do a shockwave, so anything around you gets knocked the fuck away and mostly gets splattered.
Oh, so.
But the special upgrades. Hey?
Bye-bye kids.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh, yeah. Bye-bye anything in like a 10-meter radius. But some of the weapons have like a special point upgrade. I don't know if you noticed that. There's like a little purple one.
Yeah.
Like the plasma cutter, for example, you could set people on fire.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, the contact beam, when you use your alt fire, you get a free stasis to anything in the radius. It's fucking so good.
So wait, it freezes everything.
So yeah, you'll hit everyone and they'll all get knocked back and their limbs will basically be blown off, and also they'll all be in stasis.
Oh, cool.
And it's like a full duration stasis, like as if you capped it out. It's...
Nice.
But you only pick up 2 bullets at a time for it. But you get a fair bit, like you'll be alright. And they stack at 6, so you really got to be careful with your inventory.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the different enemies?
Yes. Well, this is a gripe I had. So
No,
be
go
aware,
for
this is going to sound like I'm shitting on it. I'm not.
He's just raved about it for 15-20 minutes. So.
Yeah, thank you for
Free
stretching
spec.
that number out. But in the first game, there was an enemy called a regenerator. It's a dude who you can blow off its limbs as much as you like. That dude will fucking shake, grow them back, get up, and keep chasing you. And he'll chase you from room to room to room. He'll, like, as soon as you leave a room, door close, he'll jump through a vent and then jump out of a vent in the room you're now in.
I don't miss him.
In the first game, he is effectively the creation of a science experiment because your main antagonist is like a geneticist or something, like he's fucking like a loony bin geneticist, right? Who's been fucking
Bioshock.
Yeah, well, yeah. He's been fucking with the
time as Bioshock. I'm gonna check exactly the timeline, but keep going.
Type
The first
Bioshock.
one. I think it might
was
be a year
2011.
difference.
I think. Oh no, 2008.
Dead Space.
2008.
Yeah, 2009. And Bioshock was the year before.
2006, 7, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So basically, he modified the existing version of a necromorph to make it so that it would be able to grow back its limbs.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like this build up to him starting to chase you, and then when you effectively take him out, it was effectively like a boss fight. That was really good. It felt warranted, and I think he pops up again later on, and you walk him through like the back of a spaceship engine, and you just fucking like, hey, yo, check this out, dude. Game over. In the second game, one of them pops up in like the second last chapter.
Yeah.
For no reason, and doesn't look all that distinctly different from the rest of the enemies. It's just his limbs grow back. There's no story, there's no build up, and then he just stops chasing you after a while, and then end boss. They didn't earn it. It felt shitty. There was no reason behind it.
Rushed finish.
It maybe, but it was like
the story of Visceral in those games. Rushed finish.
potentially,
And
but
budget.
unnecessary because those rooms are already like chock full of enemies. There's no reason why they have to put. Like, other than the fact that it was like, yo, this is annoying, and also, remember this from the first game? Like, you didn't earn it, and it actually legitimately pissed me off, because I'm like, this is bad. This is really bad. So that was my 2 cents on that.
Fair enough.
Because I really feel like they really nailed it in the first game. They made it a proper threat, and it had a story relevance. And when you took it out, it was effectively like a boss fight. They put you in a room and were like, you have to do these specific mechanics in an order to make it happen. Whereas in the second one, it was just like, oh, he's chasing you and there's nothing you can do about it. You can slow him down, but nah. And then he just stops chasing you.
Fair.
And also, it was a science experiment. Like, he shouldn't be able to just exist. So, I don't know. That was my opinion.
That's right. Damo, any kind of take on that? Or I suppose you didn't play the first one, so probably doesn't.
Didn't play the
you don't have that.
How annoying is that dude?
I don't know. It's kind of It's just kind of like if you get an enemy like that, there needs to be a way to put him down for long enough to not be too big of a nuisance when you're dealing with other shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry to keep bringing up different games when we're talking about.
No, but that's the whole idea.
But okay, so
It's
like
a
Fallout,
comparison.
Fallout 4, you've got the glowing ones, which is like a ghoul, and it goes brah, and all the ghouls you've killed come back up to life, and it's like, that's really cool.
So a necromancer, basically.
Yeah, and it's like, and they're a pain to kill. They're really strong, and it's like something like that. Like if it's regrowing its limbs, like I don't know. I'd rather it had have been like if it's going to be like a regenerate, like it stabs one of the necro things, then that regrows its limb. You know what I mean? Like he's a bitch to put down, but like he's just regenerating other things. Like, but he can still be put down. Like, if you're gonna have something like that, like, because again, I didn't play the first one, so that first one that sounds amazing. That's like, whoa, man, I don't ever want to deal with something like this. And then this one, it just kind of sounds like,
he's there and he chases you.
Yeah,
And, like that's.
So I didn't know what was going on. Like, it was just.
Yeah, he only looks kind of different too, right? Like he doesn't look extremely different. It's just like he looks kind of different, and also, that dude's getting back up again. I'm pretty sure I took out those legs. But again, contact beam, it's free stasis. It's if you're gonna. So that was one really good thing they had. New Game Plus.
Yeah.
With a whole bunch of shit.
Oh, there we go. Another thing that.
Oh, sorry, dude. I'm not doing your job.
No. Like just like what I was getting at. Respec, New Game Plus. Like they're throwing all the things that you love.
I love them. Yeah, dude. If
come
someone
to
wants
the dark side, Jay, we're giving you everything.
Yeah, come to space. Again, if you make a fun game, there's absolutely no reason why you should limit people from the amount of times they can play it.
Yeah,
absolutely no reason.
That's true.
It's as simple as that. Like, give player choice, give free. Like, at the end of the day, it's the same story, except you get to keep your weapons and shit. So if you want to have another romp through or test out some of the other weapons, fucking.
Yeah, and try different play styles, all that sort of thing. Like the clever design when it comes to like replayability even stemmed right down to what they did with their trophies and achievements, where there was one for playing the game, no deaths, only 3 saves.
Hardcore mode.
2 saves, or I can't remember. It was a very limited number of saves. Maybe not even one.
If you finish hardcore mode, you get a new weapon that is literally a giant fuzzy, or not fuzzy, like a foam. You know, the foam hand, the like sporting event foam hand, and it's literally Isaac yelling pew 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 at people and they just explode. Like it's
That's as awesome as it sounds.
Yes, it is.
So my final 2 points. One, we'll deal with the one that I'm going to ask last.
This is the same one we always ask last.
No, sorry, then I've got about 3 to go.
Okay.
So
Equals.
Probably best directed at you here, just because you played the first one as well. Dead Space 2, when I compare it to Dead Space 1, seems to lean more heavily on a cinematic sort of approach.
Yep.
You could tell it was a more recent game, that the likes of Uncharted 2 and the first Modern Warfare have all come out, and they've kind of...
Even the newer Tomb Raiders, stuff like that?
Not by that stage, but...
no, but in terms of... it's the same formula.
Yeah, so what did you think about the fact that they... Yeah, in the first one it was more your traditional horror game, it's just jump scares, blah, 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 move on, whatever, versus the sequel where... Oh, you're being grabbed by this giant thing and you've only got one arm, you're trying to flail around and shoot and all that sort of stuff.
I don't know, there was plenty of that in the first one though. Like there were the tentacle rooms more in the first game than the second game. It only happens once in the second game. There was a whole bunch of ones.
Not necessarily, but like something that might grab you and it's enormous and it's got you by the leg and you got to kind of...
And you got to aim on the fly?
Almost
that happens.
Telltale style, move your cursor over and then...
That happens in the first game like a dozen times. It grabs you by the leg and it drags you through, and you've got like a few spots where it'll drag you and stop and you can shoot it and then drag you and stop, and if it drags you too many times it drags you in a hole and that's it, game over.
For some reason I must have that more associated with
there was like more quick time events in the second one is what I would say.
Called quick time.
Yeah, there was quick time events, but the thing that you're talking about in terms of like actively kind of still playing instead of just hammering the A button, I feel like there was more of that in the first one, whereas the second one, it was more cinematic events, like you're running away from an explosion and then...
So you'll be able to compare which ones which. I thought that was more in the second. But...
Look, I felt like the way, like in a similar sense to like a Metroid or something like that, the loneliness was better in one, whereas it was definitely more of like a scary-ish action film instead of it being like a more of a slow burn. I have no issue with both, because in both cases they really went for it. They didn't really pull any punches. I'm more prone to something with a bit more exploration and a bit more freedom, but then by the same token, like Resident Evil 4 is one of my favourite games and it does a lot of that, so I'm not adverse to it. I thought they did it quite well.
It's about balancing it.
Yeah, look, again, there was a lot of things that 2 did better than 1, like the anti-grav stuff, where you kind of got your little jetpacks thing.
Jetpacks!
Yeah.
Make everything better.
Whereas in the first one, to give you a bit of a comparison point, it was literally you would point to like a different surface, like a wall or a roof or something, and you would push like triangle or whatever, and you would just jump to it, and then that would be your orientation point. So you would you would kind of like jump from point to point,
node to node to node.
Yeah, so you couldn't just kind of float through there, which was also a weird thing in Dead Space 2, that you would like boost forward and then you would let go of the boost and then you would just stop. And it's like, oh, that's not how that's not how zero gravity works.
Yeah, you meant to float for a bit, and it's full on Simpson style.
Yeah, just
Homer took biting into the donuts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what you want. Yeah, like
We did such a good job. We just got copyrighted for that.
Yeah, you should totally dub that over the top. Just like,
sorry, Fox.
Yeah, they're the forgiving type. Yeah, I was totally fine with how they did that in Dead Space 2. There was some of it in Dead Space 1, but it was more of those active sequences. Yeah. But the problem is that the way the Dead Space 1 did it, there was a part in the final boss that was just another one of those.
Yeah.
And it was a difficult one, which didn't feel very good to lose the entire boss fight because it was a timing
getting
thing.
Getting the QTEs.
Yeah. Whereas the boss fight in Dead Space 2 was more of a traditional boss fight.
Yeah.
I was just going to...
No, because I decided as a...
Hold the press. Now I've forgotten what I was going to say. What were we talking about?
Quick time.
Dead Space.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. Dead Space. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, the people aspect, he never really made up his own mind to go off and do something. I kind of had a little bit of a gripe with that, being a survival horror. Like, it was always being told, go here and go do this. Like, at no one stage did he just kind of, like, gain some balls and be like, oh, shit, I've got to do this. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of get it. Like, he's just come out of the loony bin or...
What about when they're on the tram and the thing breaks and he chooses to go to the old spaceship?
Oh, well, yeah, you got that, but like...
He goes to the spaceship.
There was a lot of...
I loved going back.
There was a lot of...
To be fair, he himself made the active decision to go to the place that gave him the loony bin horror trauma.
Yeah, but there was a lot of Mega Man.
I guess. I think that was more prominent in the first half of the game, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. But like, I still... Him as a character too, like his psychotic breaks and things, the needle, he's fighting and then
so
like
that was going to be one of my questions.
Oh,
no, the other needle.
You're talking about the other one.
The syringe.
The needle, and like Sandy wakes up and then like there's nothing there.
And it's him.
Like that
was good.
That felt like
that was a great.
I haven't felt a moment like that since like Gears of War. Where like is it Dom? Not Dom. Oh, shit.
Well, Dom dies.
Holding the wife.
Spoilers. Yeah, that's Dom.
Dom, he's holding his wife.
Oh, yeah, at the end of 2, yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, no way. Like, it was kind of like a real slap in the face moment. Like, I know he's having a psychotic break, but like, I thought there would have been someone, like, like
an enemy or something.
Yeah, an enemy, like, doing it to him, and it's him, and you're like,
yeah. Yeah, it was...
Jeez, you got a surreal thought on, like, this character is broken, like, and that's cool. Like, I'll hands off to them, hats off to them for not hands, but hats.
That's alright. Someone just.
I mean, to be fair, that game was all about hands off.
Alright, needles and stuff. Let's talk about the more, I guess, one of the more iconic moments from Dead Space 2, the bit with the drill thing, and you got to line it up with your eye, and then if you're slightly off,
cross your heart and hope to die.
Yeah,
stick a needle in your eye.
How did that sit with you both?
It's fine.
Did you fail it?
No.
Oh, so you nailed it the first time. Okay.
Yeah, I did.
That was my first experience. Like, I got it right the first time.
Is it really fucking gruesome if you miss?
Oh yeah, it's real bad.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, yeah. It's real bad.
Yeah.
Just watch this back afterwards because I've
got a save just before that because I was playing it with my girlfriend watching and we got to about end of chapter 11. So I've got a lot of good stuff and the regenerator shit to deal with again.
Did you?
I did not success.
It just shreds his entire face.
Oh, speaking of failing, did you guys fail in the boss fight?
No.
Did you let Nicole grab you?
No.
You should go back and do that.
Oh, really?
It's fucking full on.
Oh, really?
It's
Like
really cool.
brutalization, like
Well,
like
I'm not going to spoil it,
enemies
but
tear you apart kind of ordeal. But
let me
like
put it to you
worse.
this way: that fight is in your brain. So, what do you think happens if you lose? Nope.
Damn. I don't know. We won't spoil that one. We'll go back and...
Just gonna have to watch like a supercut of like all the
So it's like
all
that's
the brutalization.
it's not that that's your brain; that's your psyche. Put it that way.
Yeah, okay.
So, by losing, your psyche breaks and stuff happens. It's good. It's still a quick cutscene, but whew,
Well, at least between us there, you managed to die at that bit and Damo managed to die with the eye.
yeah. Well, because
didn't
like
die.
Stop bringing it up. I can't.
I don't know how you can.
Just to be clear for people, you're meant to line this little, like, there's a little pinprick that kind of appears over
got
your
like a
eye.
laser
You can see
pointer
the,
and
the
shit.
drill starting to make its way down, and you've got to line it straight up so you can extract something from your eye. I can't remember even
No,
what
it just does a thing.
But you're meant to line it exactly upright, and if you're just slightly off, and it gets kind of increasingly quick, like everything starts moving a lot quicker as it gets closer and closer to your eye, and you've got to keep it lined up, and if you miss, drill goes straight through your head and just minces like about this sort of size portion of your entire
Really?
head. It's, yeah,
Huh.
it's pretty full on.
Well, because you guys know that if you stop moving the needle, he
It stops,
calms down.
Yeah,
No, like his
but the whole-
movements-
as soon as you start going again, it ramps right back up.
Yeah,
to
but if you
those-
stop like
those-
right here, it's totally fine. That's what I did. I was just like, done. I'm like, all right, cool. That was fun.
Yeah, let it mince your face.
Yeah, I will do that.
Um,
I'll just like hold the button down and be like, huh, I wonder what happens.
if I
hope
ended
I
with this part of his head.
I'll be like, I really hope I successfully succeed. Yeah.
So we'll wrap it up. EA has shut down Visceral. They do still own the Dead Space IP though. One of the main issues that's kind of come out following all this Star Wars stuff was the fact that they were getting really small budgets, incredibly short timelines, which is probably why we got some weird scenes like with the Regenerator in Dead Space 2
and bugs. There was a lot of bugs that I experienced in
really?
Dead Space 2. I have a cute little video that I'll show you after this that I recorded.
And then the shit show that was Dead Space 3.
Which, funnily enough, as it turns out, was a game that I remember being brutalized by microtransactions. That's the first game I think about when I think of a game that was ruined by microtransactions.
Yeah.
I think of Dead Space 3.
I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't.
And if you look at
I
this-
just
if
think
you-
about the way they decided they want to do co-op.
But it was
That
big
kind
news
of-
at the time because it was
Yeah.
the first game that was really malicious with that type of stuff. And if you look at where EA is at right now, not to date the episode, but woo, Star Wars.
I heard there's some Visceral guys that went over to Rockstar, Rec City. Who's the guys that make
Those
GTA.
GTA? Yeah,
That's
Rockstar.
Rockstar.
Yeah, and they're gonna make Red Space Redemption.
You know what? I'd be all for that.
Go for it.
It's like
please.
cowboys in space.
Cross with a bit of bully. And table tennis for good measure.
Bully's a fucking really good
Yeah.
game.
Check out my insider from a couple of weeks ago where I referenced that exact game.
Have you played that game?
Yes.
It's fucking really good.
So, given all that,
Yeah.
should we see a new
Should
game?
we see a game where you can put a necromorph's head in the toilet and flush it? Yes.
Yeah. Should we see a fourth? Oh, fifth. There was a Wii game.
Look, I haven't played the third, so I don't know what they do with the story. So I don't know if I would necessarily want a fourth or another first. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
like whether it's like a new entry in this kind of like with this premise.
I'd like to see it go planet side.
You should play Dead Space 3.
You should play Dead Space 3.
No, I shouldn't. Because I don't want to
Actually,
play.
you should play Dead Space 1, actually. Dead Space 1's really fucking good.
I don't know. Maybe we can go like Prometheus style, like of alien movies on this thing.
I would like to
Go to
see...
the origins of it.
I like a lot of the mechanics. I would love to see some of those mechanics come back.
That's true.
I like the location-based damage. I like the fucking telekinesis shit. That was tight. The stasis stuff is cool and interesting. I didn't really personally use it a whole lot, but in a pinch
see
it was
how it
kind of
would
good.
be, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I suppose picking up like fire extinguisher thingy, like throwing them in the.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. The problem I had though that sometimes if you're off a tiny little bit, the telekinesis will just like the spike will catch their arm and just tear their arm off, and they'll be like, "Cool, I'm still running at you, and you're still fucked." Like it didn't stop them at all. It's like that's not which is why the javelin gun was a rough time, because it would just knock their limb off and you couldn't electrocute them because that was the offline. I would like to see them use elements of this game, whether they do another one or not. I think the whole concept of shitting on Scientology has kind of been there and done that now at this point. I don't know. I don't think that they...
The name of the...
Theatre meters.
the name of the franchise holds some cachet in spite of what happened with that game.
All of them sold millions of copies. Like, they did quite well.
Yeah, they did 3... Yeah, the budget's kind of...
Well, again, there, I remember that 3 was hampered by... even just the mention of microtransactions. That game was rife with them. And it got a bad rap because of it. And... it's happening to Battlefront 2. Like, it's really... people will... They will not buy your game if you have shitty fucking microtransactions.
If you've got to spare 4,100 hours to unlock everything...
Or $2,100.
What about Dead Space VR? Would that interest you, Paul? Yeah? You'd go in?
Well, I tried Resident Evil 7 in VR and I got through it, so...
Actually, this kind of leads me into the would you like a sequel question.
Find out when they release Dead Space VR.
I would actually prefer... I would like them to give it the Resident Evil 7 treatment. I would like to play a first-person Dead Space game.
Yeah, that's what... Yeah, they'd have to go... Or no VR?
No, not necessarily. I don't think VR would... But VR would be rough because, again, a lot of the enemies in the Dead Space game, if they get up on you, it'll be a quick time event where they jump on you, you have to hammer A. I don't think that would be very pleasant in VR.
Could make you sick.
Yeah, it'd shake you.
I don't know about sick. Maybe dead.
Both.
Just trip out.
Just die.
Well, because they shake you up a lot as well. So.
I think they should install a heart rate monitor on these things. It's like okay, you're at an alarming rate of almost dying. We're just going to pause the game for you.
What was the one that they wanted to do for the Wii?
The heart sensor.
Yeah, that's the one.
Get out of my building. My building. But get out of my house.
I really think like a slow movement or slowish movement, similar to what Resident Evil 7 has. And again, like a lot of the stuff in Resident Evil 7, how shit gets up on you and is close range. I think it would be really effective for this. And
do the drill thing in VR.
No, that's...
God, stop.
That's bad.
Fucking bastard.
But I think also a first-person perspective would be really good if they wanted to continue down the line of... like the unreliable narrator to do with insanity.
Yeah.
Like I think they would have a great opportunity to make great like insanity shit where stuff is kind of just not right, and then you might look away and then look back and it's how it should be.
When it comes to that whole VR thing, though, that I like. So the Batman game that they put out on PlayStation VR.
I heard about that.
You heard about it. They did some incredible stuff near the back end of that game with the Joker messing with your head and that exact stuff that you were just talking about. Sure. And man, it had me freaked out.
But I don't know whether you necessarily need to have VR for that.
And you're looking around like you're in this essentially a box, and each time you look around, then it's changed, and you look back, and then all of a sudden there's the Joker right there in your face screaming at you. Like it was borderline terrifying.
No Dead Space VR, thank you. That would be...
I do think a first-person Dead Space game would be really good.
Yeah.
I feel like the gunplay would feel much better, which means that the location-based stuff would be really good.
Do you think though, like a Fallout system going, if someone was like, oh, Grass, HD remastered 4K version of Dead Space, and then, oh, cool, I can go first-person or third-person, someone that wants to, play the game to its true thing, or go... I want the new experience.
No, and I'll tell you why specifically. Because I think with what they've done in these games, they obviously have a great mastery of ambient sound and also like aggressive sound. But I think being able to have it so that if it's a first-person game where you've got like surround sound or something like that, whether it be through a VR system or not,
VR.
I think it being in third person, you can see people rolling up on you behind you. If you're in first person and you hear shit behind you and you turn around and they're like fucking point blank, I think that would have a way better effect. But if you could just flick between first and third person, a lot of those moments would lose their kick.
Okay.
And I think that they could really do a lot with it. especially, like I said, with the sound. And also, those enemies are a real shit show when they're up close.
Well, I mean, the sound thing, we won't dive into it too long because we're already going pretty long now, but like the sound thing can still work in third person. I think about I think about Hellblade that came out this year, and the way they kind of, so the big thing about that was that there was stuff going on in her own head. It seemed to be leaning on the kind of crazy side here. But like she had voices in her own head, and basically the way they said you need to use headphones, don't use the TV because the best experience is with the headphones on.
Sure.
And basically the way they did is they'd set up a microphone in the middle, and they had people walking around it, like the voice actors walking around the mic and like kind of chirping into her ear from the full 360 degrees, which meant that you'd hear it back here, and then all of a sudden it was right in front of you, and it's like,
but
it was
what I mean,
three-dimensional sound, like it was unbelievable. And if they could have nailed that,
sure,
time to stop.
But the crux of the point that I was trying to say is no one can sneak up on you in third person like they can in first person. Like an enemy can't creep up on you.
It depends on where they lock the camera, because they did manage to do that in Hellblade, but and you only knew because the voice goes behind you, and all of a sudden, like, there's someone right there that's about to take a swing.
I guess
that's the only way you wouldn't get got in the back.
But then in a shooter, it's also you need to have that. Field you need to have a field of view.
And one of their key things was that they showed the health bar down his back, so you need to be able to pan out.
Absolutely, and I think that was a great thing, and you could probably bind that to an arm, very much similar to Resident Evil 7, except have that more prominently on screen, like have it on the wrist.
Yeah,
something like that. There's a lot that I like. A lot of the formula. I think they had something really good. It's a shame that they killed it with microtransactions and
thanks.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean that's been their story for a long time. I think that.
And then they closed the studio down. It's vintage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's like bottle that shit.
Visceral, Bullfrog, many other studios.
Probably ran out of steam that quick. Did you?
I ran out of steam.
Black Box. I think.
Thank you. Yeah. And probably it's
more or less Criterion, because that's all shed a tear. Anyway, and look, I mean, this is another one of those games that came from that era of them doing different shit. It's like when they saved Brutal Legend, they made Mirror's Edge, they made Dead Space. Like they had a whole bunch of shit going on then, and I feel like that was when EA was like in a really nice zone. It was like I think one of the only times in their history where people were looking at being like, you know what, they might do all right.
And then
Skate was in there
got
too.
Big, and they got the Star Wars license, and boom, it's over.
Well, again, Mass Effect was a new IP. They also had Skate mixed in that. They were doing a lot of good shit then, and I think that it shows that EA can make interesting and fun IPs. I just don't think they probably ever will again.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'd like to see this probably change hands.
We want to see more Dead Space in one way, shape or another, though.
Absolutely.
Even if it's a bit too much for you.
Sure, like a live action movie. I don't care. Whatever.
Would you experience the games without the controller, with someone next to you playing the game?
Yeah, sure. I don't.
That way they can shit themselves.
Yeah, that way you're shitting yourselves in a group.
To prep myself for this, I actually even went through my mate's art book of Art of Dead Space, and everything about this game is well thought out. Environments, guns, characters, everything just looks freaking sweet. We actually never talked about the suit upgrades.
The suits, mate. The suits
awesome.
are really good. They're really good.
Look, I'm more than happy for there to be more of this, because you know what? Out of all the survival horrors, this does a lot better than
most.
I'm not sorry. I'm going to be the first time I ever do it, but shit on some of the fucking indies. Stop making survival horrors. Just don't. It's been done. Let it to the big boys.
Rough. But to be fair, I mean, Outlast.
Look, man, if I see one more fucking Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm going to kill somebody.
Yeah, it's fair enough. But that's the thing. Like a lot of those use the same formula of enemies you can't touch.
Yeah.
This is one of those like Resident Evil ones. And again, I mean, Resident Evil 4 is a great game. Resident Evil 7, have told is a great game. I'm yet to play it. I have purchased it, and like stuff like this. Like I think there's definitely a really good formula to it, and again, it's a brand new IP, and I think they knocked it out of the park with the first one, and they really made good on a lot of stuff in the second one. I think they kind of went a little too linear for my liking, because it doesn't, like, that atmosphere, when you're being pushed along a corridor, it's a little tougher to have that, alone with your thoughts, but
It's just a matter of finding the balance.
There's definitely chops there, and I definitely, I agree with you. I think like leaving it to the big boys to make a game like that, where there's like interaction you can have with your enemy other than having your shit pushed in.
Yeah,
I think is for sure.
Awesome. Well, that was another episode of the Video Games Club. Make sure to please like, share, and subscribe. They're all down here, so you can catch up with weekly episodes of the Video Games Club, Patched, The Insider. There's Player 2 Plays, there's trailers and other sort of bits and pieces you can find on the YouTube channel. There's heaps there, so please, again, like, share, and subscribe to catch up with those.
Got some shit.
The website, player2.net.au, where you can catch up with all the reviews and previews and features and opinion pieces. PSX and the Game Awards are about a week away, so make sure to go check those out, and I presume there'll be something that we'll have there on the site.
Other assorted lists.
There'll be lists, there's lists.
Apparently.
So make sure to visit the website for all that. Twitter, Taco's Talks. You don't do the Twitter.
The internet's a terrible place. Social media is cancer.
The tweet.
Paul James P2 and the website Player2AU. Otherwise, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Save the bees.